This is the Real Estate Power Play Podcast, getting you the information that you need to be a successful real estate investor. Hosted by Mark Monroe, Ronnie Walker, Gabe Rodarte, and me, Marty Grizzanti. Combined, we've done thousands of real estate transactions. So get ready for real stories and true case studies on finding deals, growing portfolios, and making money. Welcome to the show.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Real Estate Power Play. We've got Andrew Schlag today, and Marty is joining me as my co-host. And Andrew, he's got an amazing story. You know, he was considered one of the top 100 real estate investors to know. If you look him up on the internet, he also attributes some of his success, he said, to the ability to replicate a proven system and being able to put that into place and to shortcut it rather than going through trial and error, spending literally millions of dollars. Why not just take someone's system, replicate it, and move it forward? He's currently in Kentucky. He does a ton of investing, which we're going to get into. And then he's also got an amazing in-person event. He brings the energy with Level Up. Andrew Schlag, I am excited to have you on today, my man. Welcome.
What's up? So good to be with you guys.
Absolutely. Marty, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm doing good. You know, I'm still riding the high of the Buffalo Bills win. You know, obviously here in upstate New York, when the Bills win, the rest of the week is amazing. Actually, Schlag, are you? I know you're in Louisville, but I know you do a lot of work out in Indy. Are you a Colts fan?
You know, I got to be transparent. I am not that into sports.
Fair enough.
It works my life. I do some UFC. I keep up with that. But other than that, I don't watch a lot of sports. So.
That's very Rogan of you. Like Joe Rogan has no clue about sports, but he knows the UFC very well. And that's, I'll say this, one of the best decisions I've ever made, it was just this year, was I am in 0 fantasy football leagues.
Smart.
I couldn't do it anymore. Like I was like that piece of crap who like wasn't setting their lineups. I'm like, I'm sorry. I have a couple things I'm doing, guys. Like this isn't, you know, fantasy football is like some people's like business. Like that's their world. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I have employees. Like I can't quite keep up with this and make sure that, you know, checks are being delivered on time. So anyway, for those listening, that's a slick trick. Get out of your fantasy football leagues if you want to level up in real estate.
So what we are going to do is we're going to switch this from the Real Estate Power Play to the Fantasy Football League, and we'll go that route.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, Andrew, I appreciate you coming on today, man. I'm excited to get into your story and what you got going on and what you've kind of built really over these last few years. So I guess to start us off, man, tell us a little bit about you. What's your business look like today? And what you got going on, man? Just kind of share the audience who is Andrew Schlag.
Yeah. So, you know, my real passion is to see others succeed. And so that's kind of where I am today. I have done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of real estate deals over the last nearly decade now. Can't believe I'm saying that. I'm still only 30, but I've done over 500 deals and just really ran a substantial real estate investing company, except it becomes very repetitive. And so for me, seeing others succeed is really where my passion lies. And so back at 21, I was 21 years old when I found real estate, and it all started with a Ron LeGrand radio ad. I had some health challenges. I had been involved in, you know, various ministries, prison ministries, different things over the years. And so, you know, seeing others succeed in different aspects of life was my passion always. But as the health challenges hit, I couldn't keep up with the family construction business like I had previously. And that's when I heard Ron's radio ad. And a few weeks later, found myself at a event in Atlanta, Georgia. And 4 days changed my life. Got my first wholesale deal, made $3,000. And that rocked my world. A few weeks later, bought my first Subject 2 deal. And then just started blowing it out. By the end of that year at 21, I'd bought 12 houses. And the next year at 22, I bought 50 houses in 52 weeks. And I realized I just had a a higher paying, very busy job. And I started automating and delegating. And that's really where what I do now, the RELU, the real estate level up thing that I focus everything around came from, was exactly that, wanting to get out of my own way and have a business that works for me, not the other way around. And so when I was able to finally fire myself and start doing what I love, and it doesn't really matter how long I'm gone, the business continues on. That was where I found my passion, and showing others how to do the same.
Dude, that is so awesome. And what's so funny about your story is it's actually extremely similar to mine. And so I found real estate very similar by a seminar, right? I was pointed to there from somebody I worked with, a client of mine that I worked with. I went, listened to it. They talked about wholesaling. And then I found Sean Terry, not Ron LeGrand. I found Sean Terry.
Yeah.
And from there, I bought his course. Same thing, made $3,000 in 3 months. Was my first check, bro. And I didn't do my first sub 2 deal. I think was my 8th deal. It was like 7 months in.
Yeah.
But dude, that is so cool. That's super exciting. That's super exciting. So tell me a little bit about I want to. And Marty, I hope you don't mind, man, because I want to jump into what I'm interested in here. And I want to hear more about.
You're actually stepping on my toes quite a bit.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
No, go, man. I love it.
You know, you said it got repetitive, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a real thing when you start scaling, you start doing deals. It's like, okay, I found deals, I negotiated the deal, I put it under contract, I wholesaled it. I put it under I do this. And then becomes a part where how do I continue this momentum? By repeating these repetitive tasks. So was that about 1.5 years in, you decided to go down that route, or what did that look like for you to decide, you know what, I need to start putting a system in place? And specifically, how did you mitigate the cost of putting a system in place by replacing yourself without losing opportunity? Because that's where I find a lot of, at least for me, that's where it was really tough for me. Is as I tried replacing myself, all of a sudden my cost went up and the amount of deals I was doing went down. Yep. How did you navigate those waters to transitioning out and focusing on, showing other people how to do it?
Well, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. Remember, I was 21 when I started. So I accidentally found my first acquisitionist, the acquisitionist, the person who buys the houses on my behalf, and negotiates the deals and gets the contract signed for me. And I accidentally found them. And in doing that, I trained them. They first off started doing opening calls for me. And then they started doing closing calls for me. And then I realized I wasn't really that important to the business after all. And they was closing deals about as good as I was. So it happened accidentally. And so that happening kept me on a very good pace, because that happened in 2015. And so that kept me on a good pace. My real challenge came in because I stupidly believed I tapped out the market of Evansville, Indiana. I'm doing 4 deals a month. That must be it. And I realized that was really stupid looking back. But I immediately started trying to buy in Louisville and trying to buy in St. Louis, and started trying to expand, thinking that was how I was going to make more money. And I buy all over now, but expanding that rapidly into additional markets before really totally systemizing my first one definitely sold my growth. And so that's where that challenge arose. And so for me, it was putting that system in place, letting, number one, software do as much work for you as possible. Number two, I have a great relationship with my entire team. In the beginning, of course, it was personally in the office, coming in and celebrating wins. And now it's almost all virtually. I have team members all the way from California to Indiana and places in between. And so it's mostly virtually, and really not only systemizing the processes, the systems, and the software, but just so each person understands exactly what those, because there ain't really a lot to do in one sense. I mean, there is. I don't want to discredit it, but there's not really that much to do. Get leads, follow up, get contracts, you get the deal, then you get leads, follow up, get it sells, get the check. And so everything else is just filler. Everything else is the title company, the negotiations, all the details that go between there, making sure it runs smoothly. And so once I really broke it down like that, It's just a tight, small team doing what they do best and me staying out of their way.
Yeah, I love that. And I think one of the things that it's happened to me, I know it's probably happened to Ronnie, and it sounds like it's happened to you, Andrew, is, we think because something's boring, that it's not very profitable. I mean, I don't know why this happens to people. And for the people listening, you get a nice system in place, and then because, hey, I'm making $10,000 a week or whatever it is a month, and it's just been consistent. This is boring. I need to change it up and then you end up effing your stuff up because you do that. Right. And so many times. Right. So it's just funny why we do that. I think it's just human nature. When something's becomes boring and consistent, you have to meddle with it or something. Right. I don't know why
I threw a monkey wrench in my gears so many times, and I could tell you some sad stories. The most costly one being about $3 million.
Okay, let's go into that.
And Andrew, I think what you're saying, and not to cut you off, but it's almost like this mentality of, once I succeed, I'll do what I really want.
Yep.
And so I want to hear the story that you went down, man. I want to hear the journey.
Yeah, Jeff. So it was just being, if any student come to me and ask me, should I X, right? I say, always close with a real estate attorny, and don't do anything unless it's involving the attorney. If they won't go through your real estate attorney, don't even do the freaking deal. I have all these things that I know, but in order to sometimes level up, we break out of our box a little bit, which is good, and then sometimes we don't follow our own intuition. And so in doing that, for me, it was leveling up. I focused a lot on this, because that's why I credit to my success, and also what I credit to every time I threw a monkey wrench in my gears. And it happened that way because this was not right. And it's subconsciously going, I don't deserve this. I remember when I started, I was 21 and broke. It was like, man, if I could just get to 2,000, to 5,000 a month, to 10,000 a month, my life will be this dream. And then, when it becomes repetitive, you realize that this is really where it all begins. And if we're fulfilling our purpose, if we're fulfilling our passion, if we're helping those around us, and what really drives us is what we have to stay focused on. And so it was just some very stupid mistakes that, had I been my own mentor, I would have told myself to avoid. But letting others push things and rush things through, bypassing the attorneys, and can be very costly.
Do you think it was more on your journey? Was it more when you came to your mental game? Me and Marty talk about the mental game so much, right? I feel like the mental game is the game.
Yes.
Is what for you in your journey, was it more having to deal with your own self-doubt? Was it more having to get rid of limiting beliefs? Was it more realizing what was possible? What specifically on your journey do you feel like it was your biggest hiccup, and or the biggest hiccup you see in the people you're coaching?
Yeah. So definitely the mind, I say showing people how to buy houses is the simple part. Right. You learn how to negotiate a wholesale, you learn how to negotiate a owner finance or a sub-2, and done it hundreds of times, and it just becomes second nature. So you follow a system and it works. I didn't realize that I was more afraid of success than I was of failure. I was 21, lived with my parents, had nothing to lose, no money. My credit was getting dinged because I had medical debt from a hospital stay. What is there to, there's no way to go but up. And so I jumped in, and I remember the first time looking at my bank account, and it's sitting on $200 and something thousand. And I panicked, and I went to bed, and I woke up the next morning, and I woke up at 3 a.m. going, what if I lose this? What if I can't keep this? What if I make a stupid mistake with this? And I panicked worse on the 200 and something thousand in my account, like I'd never seen before, than I did when my account was, on $240, because that was normal to me. And so it sounds stupid, looking back, but the fear of success was worse than the fear of failure. And that's where I really had to make that shift. and level up my mindset to know I not only can create this, not only can build this, no matter how many times it gets screwed up or mistakes I make, I can rebuild, I can grow even bigger and better, learn from those mistakes, and rapidly not repeat those mistakes. That's the difference between leveling up or staying on a plateau or even declining, is making sure you're surrounding yourself by the right knowledge, right people, right guides, and learning from your mistakes.
I think we need to stay there for a second in regards to, because I'd like to hear, Schlag, what your thoughts are on how to, get to that next level mentally. Like, what are some actions that people can do that may be feeling like, oh, this isn't for me. This is, that makes sense. Marty, of course, Marty's doing it. Of course, Ronnie's doing it. Of course, Andrew's doing it, but it's not for me. So, because one of my things I always say is, the best way to build confidence, because that's really what it is really just, the more confidence we have, the more willing we are to take bigger risks. And so, for me, it's always, for confidence, it's keeping the promises to yourself, right?
Yeah.
So if you're going to make a promise, keep it, right? Ed Milet said that, and that's just been something that's been, tattooed into my brain. But when someone comes to you and you're at your level up events and you're just crushing it, but people come to you and they go, hey, I love what you're saying, but it's not for me. I can't get to that level. I can't, level up. What's an actionable 1 or 2 items that people can start implementing into their daily routine to reach those levels?
Yeah, so me and one of my very young mentees, who's now also a partner of mine, his name's Leo Valentino. He's 19 years old, and already I've helped him buy over $1 million worth of cash flowing real estate. The guy's just phenomenal. He'll probably be a millionaire while he's still a teen. Just a phenomenal guy. We just done a YouTube video together on my YouTube and talked about overcoming the fear of the phone. And one of the things we really delved into was borrowed credibility, which is huge. You work with people, and somebody is working closely with you, Marty, and they know Marty's done all these deals. It's easy for them to say, my partner has done tons of these, right? Now they have the borrowed confidence. So that's what I tell people at my events. I say, you have borrowed credibility. Now, you're working on your first deal, your third deal, to counter objection, you don't know what to say to. That's a great question. Actually, my partner, Andrew, has done hundreds of these. I will find out and get right back to you. So now it's that borrowed credibility and normalizing everything. Everything that I talk about is normal in my world. Normally, we buy houses with creative financing. Normally, we make the seller a payment till we pay them off in full. Normally, we buy with nothing down. Everything that I say is normal in my world, and I show my students at ReLu and everyone who work one-on-one with me and everywhere I go how to normalize it in their world. What you believe to be true for you becomes true for you. And I started believing I was a millionaire months and months and months before it ever happened. My bank account may have been overchecked. I may have been a negative net worth of 80 grand, but I knew I was a millionaire. And it felt like a lie the first few times I said it until it didn't. Right. And so was I always a millionaire? Well, I guess I was, whose money had not yet been deposited in my bank account. So knowing who you are, you're a real estate investor here before you ever experience the results. You're a incredibly successful, intelligent human before the outward ever begins to see it, show it to others. And so realizing that, stepping into that power is absolutely key. So borrowed credibility, surround yourself by the right people and borrow their confidence and credibility. Number 2, be okay with screwing it up. I screwed up so many calls. Yeah, you wouldn't even believe it, right? Looking back, I mean, the deals I lost.
And Andrew, I love what you're saying here, because I can't remember where I heard it, but it was like, no one thing's going to blow your chance, right? No one screw up is going to screw everything up for somebody. Yeah, you're going to blow stuff. Yeah, you're going to get better. But I think you said something that was so powerful. I have had, and I'm sure you have, like, man, if I had $1 for every time I had this question, like, why would someone sell to me with no money down? Why would someone do this? Right. And it's this mindset of, I'm never going to find them. I got to chase them. And you said something so powerful. You said, not only is it overcoming the phone and talking to people, you said, normalize it. when you talk to people, make it seem normal. Hey, this is what I do. And it's funny when we tell people what we do, how all of a sudden they move in our lane. You know what I'm saying? Or they're not. Like, you'll find your tribe by simply saying, this is what I want. This is what I do. And then, yeah, you're going to filter people out, but that's part of the process. And man, I think it's so key, because I started out literally for 8 years, probably one of my top mistakes. And I tell myself this often on my bad days when Winston Churchill calls it the black dog, right? In the back of your mind, when it starts messing with you that you got to fight with. I tell myself, I'm like, I'm not trying to convince anybody. Right. And I think that's something that people need to hear is we're not here to try to convince anybody. We're not trying to convince people. We're here to try to just provide value and solve problems. And then we will align with the people that we're here to help, and just realizing that they're out there. I think what you said is undervalued. Let me put it that way. So powerful and undervalued, because that we just need to normalize it. Hey, I buy with no money down. And then people are like, oh, okay, cool. Right.
And Ronnie, let me add there, because I think this will help people. What I like to say, and again, because I like to interject things, even though we have a guest on, I like to say, we do this all the time. Like, that's a statement. Yeah. And Mr. Sello, this is what we do all the time. So we do this all the time. This is how we buy houses all the time. And so I think that, getting back to what Schlag said, it's that normalcy. I never thought of that. It's freaking brilliant. And so is the borrowed credibility, because the borrowed credibility is the third party story. And when you can third party story correctly, you sell, because you're already giving the benefit. No one cares about what Schlag or Ronnie or Marty has to say. They care about the other person that you've helped, or, who else you're talking to. I want to ask you a question, Schlag, because you talked about, there was like the two phases of your story. Step one is buying properties. That's always fun. That's easy. Yeah. The step two, though, is the managing and the systems in place and like getting that taken care of. That's where we've always, my partner, Matt and I, we've always had some problems there. We're working on it currently, but we're working through it. What are some of the softwares? What are some of the things? What are the real tools? Like, hey guys, these are just the things we're actually using right now that have helped us with our managing, or even just with employees or stuff with your CRM. Like, what are actual tools that you guys are currently using?
Yeah, so there's a few different ones that we have. For example, we used a cold call system called Pro Lead Zone. They will pull the list for you. They will dial for you. They will pre-screen for you. They will send you filled out lead sheets, which is phenomenal and very cost effective. Still reasonably low quality leads. Outbound calls always are. But that's something that is a tool we've used. We use currently FreedomSoft for all of our management of our contacts and our leads and our list. FreedomSoft has cash buyers list. FreedomSoft texts the people for us. We accidentally called one of my own numbers to buy a house. Like, you're calling back a seller. And when I did, I realized it was my own phone line and hung up. For the next 4 months, I was getting texts from myself. Are you still looking to buy a house?
It's working.
It's working. So it's exactly that. The follow-up is the key. So FreedomSoft is another one that we use. PropStream is a phenomenal system that we have used over the years. Another one is called, it will come to me, because we if you choose to put up bandit signs, we put them out with supercheapsigns.com. We get the ugly, appear to be handwritten yellow signs.
Yep.
And there's an app, and it will come back to me, that we use.
Simple
Crew. Thank you.
Yes.
Simple Crew is our app for our guys who put out the signs.
Nice.
Wow. Love it. I've never heard of any of these, and that's why we want to have these on. And so maybe we could have you drop your affiliate link for these, for people to.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. And in that leveling up, the key is exactly that. When you know how to go out and do a deal, which is fun. Anywhere I go, I attract deals. And I believe I attract deals, and I do. I know I do. It just happens. People message me deals, and I don't even know where they come from, except I know everywhere I go, I'm going to attract deals. And once you do that, it's great until you realize you just created yourself another job. And so how do I make sure that deals continue, which is, again, of course, why I love the short-term rental, the Airbnbs, the lease options, the cash flow, work one time, get paid forever. But ultimately, how do I keep these deals rolling? And every single month, there's a running joke in the office started a few years ago. I would be home because I travel a lot, and I would be home for 2 or 3 weeks in a row. And if we went over like 2 weeks without buying a house, like it was weird. And so they would tell me after, a week or two, me being home, they would say, Andrew, we ain't bought no deals. You got to leave so we can buy some more houses. Okay, I'll figure out where I'm going next.
That's awesome. I love your thoughts on mindset. I think that's alone a great tool for people to understand, like, hey, it really starts with a bulletproof mindset, having a bulletproof, I am a successful real estate investor mindset. How do people, because my thing is, because again, you do a lot of the coaching and the level up events, people come in and they go, the fake it till you make it, right?
Yeah.
I have been a part of the fake it till you make it philosophy. But I've also, you also have to have the will to do it. Like you have to have an urgency. What is it? Why do some people do it and some people don't? Are they not willing to brainwash themselves? Because you need to be brainwashed. You need to be brainwashed into believing that you're a successful person and that does successful things. But how do people get past that? Well, I'm just saying these things to myself and I don't really believe them. Like, what do you say back to someone who says that?
Well, again, for me, it is that borrowed credibility, because I'm a very transparent person, very honest. And I literally felt like I was lying to myself to be like, I'm a millionaire. Wait a second, I'm freaking broke. And so realizing that it is that borrowed credibility, right? I mean, I must be a genius to be hanging out with the people I'm hanging out with, even though I'm broke and they're all millionaires. And so it was becoming very transparent with myself. All confidence is fake until it's not. I made a decision. My amazing business partner now, who's a friend of mine, he works out and does great at that. Come along about March of this year, maybe February, I had put on more pounds than I ever had in my life. And I realized that that's not who I wanted to be. And so was I a fat guy or was I a skinny guy who had put on a few pounds? Well, you decide. So I decided I was a fit guy who would put on a few pounds, and immediately with some accountability, which is key, I said, I want you to hold me accountable. Well, so happened that he and I do a lot of things together, business related, and we're friends. We was together at various meetings and different trips the next 3 out of 4 weeks. I said, I want you to hold me accountable on what I eat and working out every day, 6 days a week. So for the next 4 weeks, 3 of which we were together, every time I would go to get my normal steak and sweet tea and beautiful dessert, which I love, used to love, he would say, don't get that. And so it was a minor shift. And I realized that salmon and chicken 6 days a week and steak 1 day a week really wasn't that tough. Vegetables 6 days a week and potatoes 1 day a week wasn't that tough. Saying no to dessert 6 days a week, it was tougher than building a multi-million-dollar business, but I still could do it. And so I really made that shift. And then in 3 months, I was down 40 pounds and now I'm what I wanted to be. And so doing that, it is just that shift that says, this is who I am. And regardless of what my current situation or circumstances are, I am this person. You are a successful millionaire, cash flowing, amazing genius. You just have to step into it, which means what? Accountability and leadership, knowing exactly what steps to take, and 2, some minor shifts. Now I go to the restaurant, I just look at the menu. The salmon looks amazing to me. I don't even cry about missing the ribeye. And so it's just those minor shifts. And plus now that I'm where I want to be, guess what I can do more of? Every once in a while, a little more often, I can get the filet, the bacon wrapped filet specifically. So it is just that shift and that discipline. And looking at it now, it is really minor shifts. And many people, what's the difference between hopping on a fantasy football game versus hopping on this and looking up 5 auction houses for sale and putting in offers? What's the difference between calling up a buddy and saying, let's hang out versus calling up a new friend and saying, hey, let's go buy some houses together and replacing yourself? And it's just those minor decisions that leads to major results.
Love it. Freaking fire.
Dude, yeah, that is, guys, go back and re-listen to that segment that Andrew just said, because that could change your life. Like, seriously, the summary being, success is a trailing indicator.
Yes.
Right? You have to start operating in that, not only just in that mindset, but doing those minor successful things. And success, your bank account will grow because you're doing the right actions, right? Your finances, or the success that you're bringing to the marketplace, all of that's a result of you actually bringing it to the marketplace. So you got to get your mind right first. You got to be like, man, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm bringing to the table. This is who I want to be. And then start being that person. And while you become that person, all of a sudden the trailing indicator, aka my bank account growing, will happen automatically. I love that. I think there was a quote, I think it was the leader of IBM when it first started, was like, what does $1 billion company do and how do they act? Well, we need to act like that today before we're ever $1 billion company.
Absolutely.
And bro, that's exactly what you're saying, right? Is act like that today. It's not so much lying. It's, no, this is the truth of my future.
Yes.
Right? This is my future. This is the truth of which I'm operating in now. And dude, I really appreciate you coming on. I think there is someone out there that definitely needs to hear this, because I've been there, right? I've been there where, I've been in real estate for 2 years. You've done 120 deals. You've done a sub 2. You sold your portfolio. You have a bunch of money. And then, I think it was 14 months later, I'm like, why do I only have 15 grand in my bank? Right. And it's like, I've made literally a couple $1,000,000 and now I don't have, and it's like, okay, something went wrong. I got to rebuild this up. And then having to rebuild again, like, that is something I think people, they forget that it's this trailing indicators. They forget that it's the mindset. They forget that, you've got to keep acting this way. You got to make it a habit.
100%. And it is right here the reason some people make hundreds of millions and have nothing, and the reason some people make millions and have hundreds of millions and continue to grow.
So tell me this. I'm going to switch gears a little bit.
Yeah.
We have a question we like to ask, and it's, what is the top power play move that you've either done in your life or that you recommend people in Level Up or in your coaching that really propels them?
I tell people, for me, getting around I have 2 mentors in my life. I have more than that, of course. My partner, who is very young, but is my coach in the physical. He's the one who has single-handedly transformed my physical life, my confidence about myself, more than anyone else in that way. The other 2 mentors, both tremendously successful in business, which are both Ron LeGrand and Marshall Silver, 2 amazing friends of mine. Those 2 people single-handedly rocked my world. Ron, when I was broke in 21, showed me how to go get checks at will. And Marshall showed me how to not be afraid of success and to realize to step into my future power. And those things alone, I must attribute, above all else, is getting around the right people. Every day is a gift from God. And the more people we can help, the more people that we can impact for the good, the more blessed we are. I got in this business to be able to give more. And in stepping into those powers, I realized that I'm doing the biggest disservice, not to myself, but to everyone around me who I'm called to be a blessing to if I don't step into that power. And so that's what RELU is, the Real Estate Level Up. That's what everything I do is centered around, is stepping more into my power and helping those around me step into their power in a way they never even knew possible. So surround yourself by the right people, duplicate success, and watch the similar thing happen to you.
Bomb drops, guys. This is freaking great. I really appreciate that too, because I think a lot of people believe that, it's so much harder than it is, right? It's so much harder than it is. And I think not enough people give themselves credit, because I think, like, what you're saying is really beautiful. Like, it makes sense that you're having the success you're having. And I think it also makes sense that just, people don't give themselves the credit just having the right intent. Hey, my intent is to do good.
Yeah.
Well, then you should be a multimillionaire, because think about all the good you're going to do with that money. Think about all the good things you can do to help other people. I think people, they believe that, hey, it's not for me. It's like, no, you're the right person for this, because you are a good person. You should get after it and make it happen for you. Ronnie, what are your thoughts?
You actually said something that I think we've talked about quite a bit, but I think you personified it there, man, is our intent. Not everyone's, but if we know our intent is good, why do we feel bad? Right? Like, why do we feel bad helping this person out because we're going to get a benefit from it if we really want to help people? And most of the people I talk to on the coaching that I do and the people that are around me, most people have an intent of wanting to help. And, one of the things I say when they go into, sales and they start talking to sellers is, there's a lot of techniques, there's a lot of things to learn, but if you have the right intent, it shines through, right? Your intent is more important than your technique. Yeah. And I think that if you just realize, my intent is good, it's almost like a hack in your brain, right? Like it just hacks your brain where it's like, I am really here to help. Like, why am I beating myself up, right? Why am I my own worst enemy? Man, I think that's solid. So how do you have so much energy, Andrew? What do you do to bring this energy to the table? This might be a transition. It might be part of the mindset, but I'm just sitting here like, dude, you're just an electric dude. I feel it through the screen here. I wish we were in the same room together.
Thank you,
dude. Like, where do you like, how do you pull this together? Do you have like a morning routine? Do you have something you go through? Is it simply like you're just around people more often? You're like, where's the energy? How do you maintain this level of energy and discipline? Because it's not easy.
Yeah, there's three parts of it. In fact, I just got to share this. Hopefully, this is recorded.
Yeah, go ahead.
Blank it out if it's too bad. Well, I just called one of my team members about a deal. Ahmed is working on a project. And he said, hello. I said, hello, good morning. How are you doing? He goes, I'm awesome. How are you? I said, I am awesome. It's a beautiful, blessed Tuesday morning. He goes, pardon my question, but did you get laid last night? I said, I did not. Should have I? And he goes, I'd just like to hear what you sound like if you did.
That's gold.
But I had to share that. So the answer is, the three parts are, number one, knowing my purpose, my mission, what I'm doing every day, and knowing that it comes from a good place. I'm doing a disservice every time I don't buy a house from someone who I should have, because I may go to someone who's not more unethical than I am. I'm doing a disservice to every student that doesn't buy, that is a fit, that doesn't buy my mastermind or that doesn't show up at my event, because they may go to someone else that was not a fit for them when they would have got the value they needed and loved at mine. Really made real to me. One of my higher level students not long ago invested just a few $1,000 in one of my trainings, and a few weeks later sent me a picture of a check for $39,700 something. And I realized that to not take that action is simply a mindset of lack. And so a mindset of abundance is key. There's enough for you to be a billionaire and me to be a billionaire, and we're both happy and we both help change the world. And so as realizing that we're in a place of abundance, so knowing my purpose and mission. Number two, I do have a morning routine. I get up every morning. I read. I read success books. I love Proverbs. I love a lot of different good reads. I pray. I meditate. I have a whole morning routine that's about a half an hour that I do. And then thirdly is keeping my physical health up. And I do that. I have several vitamins I take and several things that I do every morning that helps me continue to feel energized every day, almost every day, all day.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, I love it. You got to do those things. You got to have that morning routine. I think, it's been helpful for me, and I'm sure it sounds like it has been for you. And I think working out is absolutely a must, even if it's just going outside for a walk. Getting that sun, getting that 10 minutes, right? That alone has been a game changer for me. I know
me and Marty just, what was it, like 3 weeks ago, we got on the phone and we're talking, and I think I was walking, I was like saying hi to people outside. It was early in the morning, And I was like, hey man, I'm sorry, I'm outside. I was like, he's like, we were talking about it. I was like, man, I like to see the sun when it comes up. I like getting that in my eyes. I like that feeling. And we just started talking about that. Kind of been a theme for like a week. We're like, man, it really is nice just getting up, and now with it getting a little bit colder, kind of getting a little bit of, a little nipply out there, when you step out, and just, realizing that life is bright, right? Long term, the future is always bright. And I was just telling another guy yesterday, like, he was like, man, I'm dealing with all these problems. I've got this, I've got this, I've got this. I was like, hey man, if you just pick up your head and realize that long term, it all works out.
Yep.
I know you don't have the answers right now, and you've got some stuff happening, but don't be crippled by right now. Realize that this is working for you. And man, long term, the future's always bright. It always works itself out. And so, man, I think that's awesome. Marty, do you have anything that you want to ask Andrew?
Well, it's one of the last questions that I always want to ask somebody is, is there Andrew, for you and your company, or for you personally, or for Level Up, what's the main KPI that you look at, maybe on like it could be a weekly, daily, it could be a monthly, yearly basis. Like, you got to just pick one, but what's that one KPI that you're going to look at that really tells the success and health of your business in your life?
Well, for, of course, the real estate business, it is just looking at the profit and loss, knowing where my numbers are. And if we're hitting what we're supposed to, we're doing well. And if we're not, then, what's missing? It always comes back to one of three things. We're not getting enough leads. We're not following up. We're not getting the contract signed in time. With the training business, of course, with ReLU, it's a little different. It's how many people show up at the event, but more importantly, I have a survey at every event that everybody takes. And it asks about how much information or level up they got basically from the event. It rates each speaker anonymously. It rates each coach. It rates every aspect of that event. And I look at that, and my KPI for the info business is the success and joy that my students have in getting them to increase their revenue is the simple part, but getting them to realizing who they are and how amazing they truly are. And the more money they make, the more people they can help. So for me, for the ReLU, I would have to say it would be community and joy in that community.
Love it.
Man,
Cowabunga.
that's awesome. Well, Andrew, I really appreciate you coming on today, man. You brought the energy here. I think, guys, go back and re-listen to some of the stuff said, because I think just those small tweaks, when you bring energy to the table, you attract deals, just like you said. Right? Yeah. People want to work with people they know, like, and trust. And they want to work with people that they feel like have it going on. And a part of that's the energy we bring to the table. And so, guys, go back and look. Andrew, thank you for being on Real Estate Power Play. And guys, yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. And guys, please go to the Apple iTunes, go to YouTube, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Wait, hold on. Before we go, Andrew, how can they find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Andrew Schlag, Instagram, Andrew Schlag. You can find me on TikTok, Andrew Schlag, and you can find me on YouTube at Andrew Schlag.
Nice.
All right. Andrew
Great,
Schlag.
Marty.
Too hard.
There we go.
Thanks, guys. Great being with you. I'll see you soon.
You too.
Stay awesome.
This has been another episode of Real Estate Power Play, guiding real estate entrepreneurs to a brighter future. If you liked what you heard, consider subscribing wherever you listen to your podcast, or follow us on YouTube at Real Estate Power Play.